Hi everybody, welcome back to T-TiME with myself, James. Today we are going to be talking about self-harm. This is going to be a roller coaster of a video, and I think it's really important before we start to say that if you or someone you know is engaging in self-harm, that you are 100% not alone, and that help is out there. And it's really important to seek the information and help that's needed. There's a lot to be learned in today's episode, some really important information, so get the kettle on and listen up. As always, I am joined by my not only very qualified psychotherapist, but also a glamorous assistant, Claire.
Hi.
So let's get straight into it. What is self-harm?
Self-harm can be defined as the injury that one does to oneself without the intention of killing oneself.
Yeah, I instantly think back to school. It was a rumour that this person had cut themselves, and instantly everyone thought that this person was suicidal.
It's most prevalent in teenagers and usually in females.
Right.
So first of all, it's really important to note that when somebody is self-harming, they're not doing it for attention. It's not a cry for attention. They're doing it as a way to deal with their overwhelming feelings. Similarly to people who suffer from anxiety, have panic attacks, some people choose to hurt themselves in order to deal with their negative feelings.
Telling a person that them doing that is a cry for attention is likely to make things much more difficult for that person.
Of course, it would be really unhelpful to be judgmental and critical of somebody who's already struggling with what's going on in their life, and to say something so judgmental would not really be that helpful.
Even including the obvious ones, what are the signs?
So, like you said, the obvious signs, unexplained cuts or bruises. Some people often talk about, oh, the cat scratched them or the dog scratched them, but if it's continuous, then there might be an issue. Also, wearing long sleeves or trousers, even when it's warm, even in Ireland, that's a really important sign as well. But less obvious signs would be things like socially isolating themselves, withdrawing, but also being really negative and pessimistic when they talk about themselves or what's going on in their life. So there are loads of really hidden signs. As with all mental health issues, anything like withdrawing and being negative and having a pessimistic outlook is usually a sign that there's not something quite right.
In reality, it could be anyone.
Yes. About 10% of adolescents self-harm, so unfortunately it isn't just in specific groups that we all think of stereotypically that those would be the type of people that self-harm. Not only adolescents self-harm, adults also self-harm. In fact, male adults between 19 to 24, the self-harm in that age bracket is actually rising at the moment.
Wow. Going back to what you said about attention, that's not why people self-harm.
There are loads of things that cause people to self-harm, like those negative emotions and feeling overwhelmed, like a loss or feeling angry and not knowing what to do with it. Often people self-harm because they can't verbalise how they're feeling.
Right, okay.
So they take it out on their bodies. And again, like we always say about the 3 T's Know the Signs programme, it's important to spot those signs and then talk to the person about your concerns from your own experience. So I've noticed that you've been a bit off lately, you've been more socially isolated. Maybe you can mention the fact that they're wearing long sleeves or that you've seen bruises on them.
Okay. Just
mention that you've noticed these things and that you're concerned that maybe they might be self-harming.
Right, okay.
And then you can always get them to talk to a trusted adult, go to a GP or talk to a professional like a counsellor. And as I've mentioned before, on the 3 T's website we do list the crisis services and crisis helplines alongside our self-help library. And in our self-help library we do have a self-help book on self-harm and what to do about people who you feel might be self-harming.
Coping skills with this sort of thing, it's a different sort of subject compared to the other ones that we talk about in the series.
One of the big things around self-harm is that if you're concerned that somebody is self-harming, it's really important to not tell them to stop. You can't pull the rug out from underneath them. They have to have developed a different coping skill in order to take the place of self-harm. Stopping self-harm cold turkey can be very, very difficult, but it can also be really damaging as well. So one of the things that we would often talk about with regards to self-harm and coping skills is trying to use different, less damaging coping skills, trying to talk about your feelings more, be around supportive people in your life. So whether it's friends or family, try and get in contact with a GP, a guardian, a trusted adult, anybody that will help you deal with this.
Ireland has one of the highest suicide rates of young men in Europe.
It does, and as we mentioned in all our videos, while someone is self-harming, they may not be suicidal, but somebody who is self-harming may go on to complete suicide. And it's really important that we do something about that here in Ireland. So one of the things that the 3Ts are doing are lobbying for a suicide prevention authority.
So for any information about any of the topics we talked about today and the self-help library, you can visit www.3ts.ie. And if you would like to win one of these fabulous mugs, show it off there like one of the girls from like The Price is Right, like, yeah, oh wow. If you would like to win one of these great mugs, please comment, tag someone in a comment who you love and who you'd like to give a hug in a mug to, and you, they, or both of you could end up winning one. Lots of them to give away. Until next time, this has been Tea Time. I'm James. She's Claire. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.